Three, two, one, go.
And welcome into PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. I'll be flying solo tonight, no Gary Stein, but two friends of mine and people that we like to cover are TJ Brightman, Vice President of the Baltimore Orioles and Chief Revenue Officer for the club, and Jennifer Grondahl, who is the Vice President of Community Development and Communications for the team. We'll be talking to them in just 15 seconds, but first I have to tell you, expert and award-winning AJ Michaels heating and air conditioning, plumbing, and home performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is coming up fast. New rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. And of course, we also thank our friends at the Costas Inn. Guys, it's a pleasure to have you back on the Zoom. We did this while we were in the depths of the pandemic and the early days of the rebuild that Mike Elias embarked upon and Sig Mejdal and the whole organization embarked upon. How different is the psychology of going into work for both of you today rather than the way it was like 2.5 years ago?
Well, we're still on Zoom. It appears that we're still on Zoom right now. That's the first thing. It also feels like it was 10 years ago, right, Jen?
Yeah, it does.
It does feel like it's been a long time. But yeah, being back at the ballpark and being back at the warehouse and then seeing fans again, I think that's been the best thing since the pandemic has ended.
Jennifer?
Yeah, it's, Stan, it's so interesting because thinking about where we were versus where we are now, not just with the pandemic, but all of the things that we talked about for the future of the club. And I think some of the promises that Mike Elias has made and delivered on, some of the changes that we wanted to make organizationally, but also some of the things that are the same. John Angelos, obviously at the helm of the organization, TJ, myself, Greg Bader, Lisa Tolson, Mike Hoppus, and then our new addition, Cal Perry, to bring new experiences to the fan, to not think in old ways and to be forward thinking, and concessions, new concessions partner at the ballpark, some of the new corporate partnerships that TJ's team has introduced, and some of the things we've been able to accomplish in the community despite the pandemic. I just think, we move really quickly. This is baseball, as you know, 162 games, but we often are remiss in taking the opportunity to appreciate just all that has been accomplished, both on and off the field. And I'm really just proud to continue to be part of this organization and part of this team.
TJ, I want to ask you each individually to answer this, but I know you worked for the ball club at a couple different times. The fact that you're new to the position you're in now, or have been new the last 2 years or so, how important was it that you knew sort of intimately the history of this organization?
It's a great question. And, Stan, I've been around the club. I think this is my 22nd season.
Yep.
And since coming back and joining Jennifer and the rest of the team that she just mentioned, when John Angelos put this senior leadership team together, we're going on 4 years this coming September, October. But I think having a lot of institutional knowledge about the club, my first stint was in the early 2000s, and I was there for just about 3 years. And then even when I left to go into the family business with my wife, Anita, I was still engaged with the club and with our partnership group and with John Angelos and the family. So I think that gave me the opportunity to stay engaged and really had been engaged during that entire period of time. So to come back, even though it was a different role, but it gave me the opportunity, obviously, to work with a lot of the same people that I had been with over those years, and really kind of seeing the organization at different times, and in a lot of ways trying to recreate some of the things that we had worked on many, many years ago and just weren't able to for a variety of reasons.
Jennifer, I ask you the same question because you're sort of new to the Baltimore Orioles, but you got to know the Orioles from your work with them down in Sarasota. And I was wondering how that helped you get hit the ground running in what you wanted to do and what the organization wanted out of you?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you'll find consistently across every member of the management team is that we believe in the vision of the organization. And that vision does come from John Angelos. And when I first met John, 12 or so years ago, when I had my business in Sarasota and I helped bring, events and other opportunities to the team in Sarasota, what I saw was someone who was really committed and idealistic, but also had the ability to, there's a lot of people that have been here for a long time. There's people that have been in this building, Lisa Tolson on our team, you're talking about 38 or so years. Greg Bader.
And Greg's been with the
Mike
team.
Hoppus.
29 years,
Yeah.
Mike Hoppus,
Yeah.
TJ, that history. And I think that says a lot about the organization. And I knew that I wanted to be a part of it. So I think having the external perspective, not being a lifer with the Orioles, has been really, really helpful. But I also think that at the end of the day, as you know, a lot of business success is about chemistry and the ability for us to work collaboratively. And that's from the management team level, but everybody in the organization. As you mentioned, I oversee community development and communications and alumni relations, and all of my people work together. There's really no walls. It's really, how do we come together and how do we work with corporate partnerships or, ticketing or marketing to get the work done and to support the success of this team on the field, which couldn't be more exciting right now.
And I'll even add to this, coming back to the ball club 4 years ago, and Jennifer's just kind of summed it up. It was really about John's vision and what John wanted. He brought Mike in 2018, a year before he put the senior leadership team together. We all at our different places, Jennifer in her own business, and working with the club in Sarasota, and me with my business. It was an easy decision. It was a decision because I wanted to be part of something special. Little did I know how special it was going to be, because the parts, the pieces, the people hadn't been really put together. But this is a close-knit group. Jennifer, myself, Greg, daily engaging with each other. Cal Perry, who's the new addition, and of course, Lisa Tolson and Mike Hoppus, super collaborative. And then of course, John at the helm. So it's been terrific. Everything that he said that he was going to do internally, he has done, and it's been really good.
You both have mentioned Cal Perry.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. The day that I read the press release, I said, where do I know that name from? And then I looked it up because I'm thinking, I know it's not Cal Ripken, it's Cal Perry. But then I said, wait a minute, I know this guy. I've been watching him quite a while on MSNBC, and I'd seen him before. Could you both, and I plan to get Cal on the show sometime, but could you both talk a little bit about what he's going to be doing? Because I think it's really an interesting aspect of John's vision and something that really is going to help the club long term.
From the title perspective, it's Chief Content Officer. So what does that mean from the applicable standpoint? He's here to help us tell stories, to talk about what's happening, again, on and off the field. As you know, as we embark on this, next phase of Camden Yards and what it means to Baltimore and what it means to Maryland and all the impact that it's had over the years, that's one piece of it. But what are all the stories? What are all the moments that have been created as a result of this ballpark? What are all those people? Who are the people that we're impacting in the community? What is their story? And he is an expert storyteller, as you know. And to be able to oversee that content team and how we connect and engage with our fans, which, as you know, fans and the game experience, even with the rule changes, what is that doing to the game, and how is that going to allow us to attract new fans? But it's also that how fans connect to these players and some of the work they're doing in the community. Kyle Gibson, his association with Big League Impact and trying to get other players involved in giving back to the community. As you know, we have our City Connect that we're going to be introducing this year in a few weeks. How
The
do we
City
connect?
Connect uniforms, yeah.
Correct, which is going to be a huge moment for the club. And you'll see a lot of that work and sort of what Cal, and collaboration with public relations and collaboration with corporate partnerships and collaboration with marketing, how he's able to pull all that together to tell the story of Baltimore as we see it. So that's what he's going to be here to do. He's working, a lot on tying all of our efforts together to push it out to fans.
TJ?
Yeah, I would just add, I mean, Cal was a unique hire, right? Because he wasn't a sports guy, wasn't a baseball guy. He was
It's an out of the box. It's a very much an out of the box hire. Yeah.
And that's how we're challenged, and we're challenging the teams that we work with. In the past 4 years, as we've reset the business operations, right? Mike has reset the baseball operations. We've reset the business operations. And we've looked for talent, just like Mike's looking for new talent on the field. We've evaluated, we came in and we evaluated the existing folks that were already working for the club, many still with the ball club and super talented. And then we just added on from there. And Cal's an obvious choice, or an example of that kind of person from outside of baseball. So we're doing that, and we're going to continue to do that to find the best people.
I want to ask both of you, this is sort of outside the purview of your exact job titles, but the rule changes this year, they're so dynamic, and so they're really deep changes right now. I'm wondering what kind of feedback you're getting from people, whether they like them or not, because the games, there's no getting around it. The games are about 30 to 40 minutes faster than they were. Jennifer, I'll start with you.
I can give you a pretty much an exact quote, Stan, from Mike Elias. The rule changes are one of the greatest things that happened to our game. And this speeding up of the game, we have a benefit at the Orioles in that many of our players have been in the minor league system that are currently on the field now, and they've been used to these changes. There have been some adjustments. You've seen some of the veteran players such as Austin Hayes and Anthony Santander and a few others that have had to make some adjustments. But the speed of the game, some of the strategic differences that you're seeing on the field because of these rules changes, I think, we want to bring people to Camden Yards. You don't necessarily have to be a baseball fan to come to Camden Yards because it's such a great experience. But if you are going to commit, and especially as many times as you have to commit, knowing that you get that 30 minutes back, it's amazing what you don't realize that you accomplish in that 30 minutes. We talk about that you have to condense everything you're doing, and Stan, from your perspective, because you're in the press box and you're preparing for post game and you have to write your story or report out, like you have 30 minutes less to do that, but you've seen the fans really reacting positively to it. And I'm only hearing good things in the clubhouse.
TJ, before I get your answer, I heard an interview with Steve Phillips on XM Sirius Radio with the manager of the Minnesota Twins, Rocco Baldelli. Sure. And he asked him about the changes, and he goes, I don't know who came up with the idea. He goes, but everybody I talked to in the game, from other managers, coaches, players, front office people, they all say whoever it was should immediately go into the Hall of Fame.
Well,
which I found very interesting.
Well, I would second what Jennifer said. It has been, the response has been fantastic from fans to people that cover the team. I mean, you think about it, that extra half hour, and our games now in April and May starts at 6:35, right?
Yeah.
So there are fans that it makes it a lot easier for us to even market the club, right? You can come out to the ball club, and April and May typically, kids aren't out of school. There's that sort of that built-in, I got to go downtown. It's going to be late. It's a school night. Our games are, averaging, as you said, under 3 hours, and that certainly makes it more attractive. And you mentioned the idea, like who came up with the idea. I can tell you that Theo Epstein.
I know Theo was very involved in it.
And of course, Theo's got Baltimore ties, and Jennifer and I were actually just talking about Theo last night. But I was in a meeting about 2.5 years ago in New York, up at Major League Baseball, and Theo was doing a presentation then about what was going on, the larger bases, and what they were doing in the minor leagues. And I remember him saying, you know, what's the most exciting play in baseball? And everybody's like, oh, you know, home runs. He said, no, the most exciting play in baseball is a triple. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to have more stolen bases. We're going to create all this excitement. And it's, you know, it's been a home run, not a triple.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Let's talk a little bit, Jennifer, in your world, the community relations. I'm sure you have different initiatives from year to year. What's something that really excites you about your area right now?
Well, we just had a ribbon cutting for the Habitat for Humanity home that we built as an organization last year. And that project was a labor of love for our employees, for our coaches, our GM, our manager, our players, coming together to build a home. And when we heard the story that day of the woman who was the beneficiary of one of the homes that we built, she was living homeless at one point in her life, was living in a project situation for an extended period of time. This was her first time owning a home. And to know that we were a part of that, our Orange and Black Gives Back is our program for volunteering in the community. And that extends from our employees, you know, to our players on the field. And to know how important it is to our organization to make a difference, considering the schedules that we keep, but that it still remains a top priority. This year, we're going to be introducing a really, really exciting project. This is really, truly not announced publicly yet, but I'll share it here. We're coming together with our affiliates in all of our affiliate communities, and also Frederick, who we still have a strong community partnership with, our Dominican Republic organization, and then in Sarasota to do a week, Orange and Black Gives Back week of service, where we're going to be going out to all of these communities. And we've identified projects with our affiliates that are important in those communities. So whether it's military programs or food bank or beach cleanup in the DR, those projects, we're going to come together and with our major league players and our minor league players and our entire organization. And as you know, Stan, we have a huge, huge benefit that we worked very, very hard over a number of years organizationally to bring the affiliates within a really tight geographic region. So we're making big impacts across the region from an economic standpoint, economic impact, but now we're making an even bigger impact on the community standpoint. You're going to start to see more and more of that, more partnerships with organizations that are reaching beyond Baltimore and across the region. And that's what we're really focused on right now. And it's a dream come true.
It really sounds interesting, really interesting and long overdue. TJ, I know on your side of the world, revenue creation is sort of what you oversee as one of the key points of your job. And I imagine with the more interest that people are having in the club, that you're finding some new partners that want to attach themselves to the Orioles right now. Am I right on that?
You're correct. And in so many ways, winning cures everything. Not everything.
And that didn't sound too infomercially, did it?
No. Not unless you're going to start doing a commercial for the Costas Inn or something, Stan. But no, you know, I think things started to change for us. I've said this to many when we had that 10-game win streak last summer.
Yeah.
I think we're going to look back. And, you know, we talked about it years ago when the curse of the Andino, and then, you know, the club went on that run, right, for 4 or 5 years. It's going to be that 10-game win streak because we were 49-49 at the All-Star break. And then we finished the season, obviously, with 83 wins and 79 losses. I was looking at this stat yesterday. Since the All-Star break of last year, the rest of the way, the team's like 15 games over 500. And that was really the point where things started to turn the corner. And we have been very fortunate to have very loyal corporate partners that have been with the ball club for many, many years. But as far as new partners coming on board, they started to recognize the rising stock that our franchise had. They started to recognize what Mike Elias had done elsewhere and what he was doing in Baltimore. And they wanted to be part of it. And it's brought the fans back, obviously, with attendance improving, and that we're continuing to do that. But you know, bringing in new partners in the ballpark that also benefit our fans because we're able to create new activations, and it's all about the fan experience.
And Stan, the other thing too with those partnerships that TJ's team is working so hard to introduce to the team. One of the things that we have seen is a rise in corporate social responsibility partnerships.
Yeah.
So whether it's our Care First food project or Pepsi field revitalization, our junior RBI programs with Nike and Pepsi and Giant, all these organizations, it's really, really interesting because I think it says a lot about the work that these partners believe in that we're doing, and we're able to bring our brands together to impact the community more. But I also think it says a lot about what we have right here in this community. Is we have organizations that are literally putting their money where their mouths are, and they want to support great organizations that are impacting the community and changing and making the place we live, work, and play a better place. So that has been a huge, huge moment for the corporate partnerships team. And it's been exciting to be a part of that and to be able to deliver those things to the community.
I know there's really only one person I can talk to about the larger initiative that John Angelos has in his vision of the Orioles that plays in the city of Baltimore, how important it is to the city of Baltimore. And that's John himself. But I'm wondering, you guys, as his team, you're aware of certain things, and I'm not asking you to give me any details, but how excited are you with the vision that John now has and a partner? Not that there was anything wrong with Governor Hogan, but that there's a real friendship and kinship with Governor Moore. How excited are you both to be, on the ground floor of this?
Well, I'll take it first. I'll just say that I think, you look back at what we were able to do, or not we, because we weren't necessarily part of it, the two of us, what visionaries were able to do 31 years ago with that ballpark, right?
Yeah.
Imagining a ballpark downtown, retaining the warehouse, all the things that beautiful ballpark has become. That's what's going on right now. And I think John looks at it as it's his time, along with others, along with the state, along with the governor, and much like what happened 31 years ago when those meetings were happening. I think that's how John looks at it. I mean, He always will say, his job, our job is to be a good steward, because ownership is what it is, right? And that's where we are at this point. And he wants to do certain things and put his stamp on, and that's it's about the vision right now. And I couldn't be more excited to be part of what we're doing.
Very well put. Jennifer, you have anything to add to that?
The second renaissance that we hear John talk a lot about with Baltimore, and I think the Governor Moore and John, as you said, they have a special relationship. And I think what drives that is a shared desire to utilize the assets that this community has for the betterment of Maryland. And Camden Yards is just that. Camden Yards is a driver of people. It's a driver of tourism. It's a driver of business to the small businesses that are in this community. As I mentioned, our affiliates that are in these other communities that we're able to, have exciting baseball and other opportunities, concerts, entertainment. How do we take what we've already accomplished, $10 billion plus in economic impact, 75 million fans that have come to Baltimore because of this team and because of some of the other things we've done here, and level it up. And I think that there is such a love for this ballpark across the country. It's the one ballpark that I think consistently ranks in the top couple of ballparks in every poll in terms of iconic baseball. How do we take that gem and make it even more sparkly? And I do know that that's going to happen, and to be a part of that, and especially given what Mike Elias and his team have done on the field. And what we're seeing here is not just this moment where we're seeing success on the major league level as this rebuild is over, as Mike says, but it's actually sustained success that we're going to see for many, many years because of the system that has been built to support that. And then when our DR Academy opens this winter, again, another place where we're going to be driving more and more talent to come to this community, coupled with what we're doing on the front office side with the college bound partnership that we announced with the $5 million that's going to be invested in keeping talent here in this community, education, opportunity in the front office, so we can create that sustainment of the front office diversity that is so important to us and to Major League Baseball. It's just, what isn't there to be excited about with that?
One last question for both of you, for this conversation tonight. Tell me about how important Adley Rutschman is to having a figure like him to be kind of not the cornerstone or the only thing, but to have him as the central piece right now. TJ?
Well, when you were asking the question, I was thinking of, well, look, we've been blessed to have players like Adley, but Adley is in our franchise over, the last plus years, but he's a transformational talent. Okay. Now, Jennifer, because of what she does, has the opportunity to spend more time with the person, right? She gets to see the athlete a little bit more than I do. I see it from our vantage point. But I would liken this, when you were asking the question, I was thinking back like 1977. I don't want to date myself, but when Eddie came up, and there were very high expectations, right, of who this guy was going to be, the switch hitting first baseman, and a guy that could carry a baseball team. And Eddie did that for a very long time. The team would be in a slump and he would carry the team on his back. I think you're seeing that with Adley. It's just his way that he goes about things. And Mike talks about it. He's, for such a young person, he's so poised, not only on the field, but off the field. He's extremely bright and intelligent. And what better thing could you have to make the face of your franchise than a player like Adley Rutschman? So that's my thought.
Jennifer, a final comment on that?
Yeah, I think it all goes into, what does leadership look like? Leadership looks like a person who devotes the time and the energy to greatness on the field. It's a person who devotes the care into the development of other players that are coming up, and that also is able to integrate with veterans. You can see from Kyle Gibson to Grayson Rodriguez, his interactions, Felix Bautista to CNL Perez, to all these, it's just, and the way that he is in the clubhouse, he's really easygoing. He's committed to excellence. He puts the work in. He has a lot of pressure on him. There's a lot of eyes on him at all time, but he continues to deliver both on and off the field. The community commitment is there. But that said, I think that really is just one piece of the puzzle that's going on here. And it starts with our manager, Brandon Hyde. And it starts with the expectation that he puts on this team and the way that he approaches all of them with care as individuals, and the time he spends with both the player and the coaches to create that, but also the team as a whole. And when you see these little celebrations that they're doing, the things that they're coming up with ideas to help us sell tickets, these types of things don't come from an organization that is dysfunctional. This is a highly functioning, positive, amazing place, from clubhouse to mailroom, from the 5th floor to the 8th floor of baseball ops.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
It's remarkable. It's remarkable.
Culture.
It's a culture. Yeah,
it's changing culture.
And that's why we celebrate it. And I really do. I cannot say enough. And Stan, you've been around this team for a very long time, and you've been around this particular team since its real inception, since the Michael Elias, Brandon Hyde hires by John. And I have to say, the culture, it is something you feel. The energy is something you feel. When you walk into that clubhouse, this isn't fake. It is 100%. And we hear this from media. We hear this from other broadcast partners that we work with, that we're easy to work with because the team is so positive and wants to support everybody's success. And I think that embodiment is in every player on this team, and it's amazing.
Jennifer, I just want to tell you, you've put together a wonderful team in communications, from Nate Rowan to Liam to Tessa to Jackie. They really do. They really
They're
are
the best.
Wonderful people.
Love them. And I really thank you for that, because, Stan, they work so hard, and they're behind the scenes people. And at the end of the day, we're all behind the scenes people that want to elevate the team and elevate you know, Mike and Brandon and all those around us, these players that work so hard, and we do have wonderful relationships because they put the time in, and I'm super proud, and I really appreciate that.
I hope I'm not talking out of school, but I was talking to Tessa the other day. I called her over and I said, you really love what you do. She goes, I am the luckiest person to have this job.
Yeah.
And it comes across in everything she does. And it's not just dealing with me or Jim Henneman or Rockabatko. It comes across with her everything she does. It's just,
But
Dan,
very
I do
special.
have to tell you something really funny. Before I came up here to do this interview with you, with TJ, I was down there watching the game with Liam and Tessa and Nate
Yep.
and Rachel and community development. And Tessa was on her chair. And what happens is when runs get scored or whatever, like we change the mojo.
Yeah.
She was on her chair playing some music, and she was like pushing back, and I wanted to record it because it was so funny. And she's like, I'm not doing it. And I said to her, I'm like, I command you to do it because I'm the boss. And she does it. And I have a video of her just pushing back. I mean, honestly, the reason that it's because it's fun. We're having fun. We're enjoying the moment, and we're enjoying what's ahead of us. And that's something, you know, you have to have in mind when you work those kinds of hours. And thank you.
Okay. I really meant that. It's funny. All three of us in our own way are eyeing the television right now.
Yeah,
I'm going to let it close out right now. Will you both promise to come on again with Gary and I, maybe later in the summer or early in fall?
How about when we're in the
postseason?
postseason? That's when we'll do it.
Postseason. All right. Jennifer Grondahl, thank you very much for being with us. TJ Brightman, two of the vice presidents of the ball club. We thank you very much for joining us today. Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
And we'll
Thanks for
talk
having us.
soon.
Appreciate
I want
it.
to thank the
Thank you.
Costas Inn again for all their sponsorship of these Zooms. All right. We'll talk soon down the road. Bye.
Bye.